What's up, guys? Happy Monday. It's August 10th. It's 2020, and the NBA season is rolling right along. And we've got another mid-sized slate all day staggered again today. And it has been a fun DFS weekend. And we use the word fun in quotation. Some weird stuff happening. Some coaches uh, making some collusional perceptual decisions, not playing starters in closing minutes to perhaps boost other teams' chances at winning. There's some weird stuff going on. Also, we're seeing a lot of rest, a lot of ins and outs, and we're going to see that again today, right? We saw over the weekend Kawhi, Paul George get staggered out. And then today we're going to see a lot of Mavericks rest. And that's going to happen as we go down to the stretch of the end of this bubble season because teams are locked into their playoff spot. And it's really just about coasting, staying healthy for the playoffs. And from a DFS standpoint, it's creating some crazy things. And if you guys have played full regular season NBA, you might know how the last week or so of regular season goes. A lot of no-name scrubs coming out, dropping 50, 60 fantasy points, and it just gets real chaotic. And I was hoping we wouldn't reach that point too fast, but some of these nights are a little bit crazy. And I feel like today has the potential to be a little bit wild as well, particularly considering that the Dallas Mavericks seem to be resting a lot of their starting minutes tonight. We'll talk about that going forward. Last night, Austin Rivers dropped over 50 fantasy points. It was crazy. A lot of weird stories like that. Tyler Johnson out of nowhere. I think he had over 20 real points. So a lot of anomalic performances making some weird top scores last night. But hey man, that's the cards we're dealt. We roll with the punches at this stage of the season. Really all season, but I'm more so a tournament player. So in this video, guns core plays, we're gonna go through one play at each position on FanDuel that I got my early eye on to potentially build around tonight. A lot of this could change as we get closer to lock. You know how we have to adjust to news when it comes out and keep our head on a swivel and keep our lineups loose. So keep that in mind as we go forward. But let's get cranked up. We're going to talk about five guys I'm digging on FanDuel tonight. And I'm going to give you a little bit of a reason behind each of them. If you are new to the channel, you like DFS content, hit me with that subscribe, like the video, show me some love, leave a comment, let me know who you're on today. If something I said is really dumb, let me know. I don't mind eating some egg here. And then, of course, search around the channel. I'm going to have a DraftKings video for NBA as well today. And maybe look for some baseball content. If you got anything else for me, twitter.com/Gundacker Sports. Hey, if you stumble across this video on YouTube, what you see on the screen is rundfs.com. That's the place where we don't just play DFS. We run DFS. We do have a premium side of things that unlocks access to my spreadsheets, my picks, my premium Discord, the daily pre-lock voice chats you guys can be a part of or listen in on. It's a lot of fun in there. I'm not going to spend too much time plugging that, but if you guys want to take your game to the next level or make some new friends in the DFS bubble, come check us out, right? Would you? All right, hey, let's go open up a FanDuel page. What do you say? And let's get cranked up talking about five guys I'm digging today. I'm going to give you one point guard, one shooting guard, one small forward, one power forward, one center. I try to stay away from the obvious, right? The 10K, 11K, 12K studs. I don't want to get out here and tell you, hey, James Harden without Russell Westbrook, you got to play that. You know that. I want to give you guys that are a little bit more diamond in the roughy, hopefully under 8K. Let's get cranked up at the point guard position. I got my eye on Jamal Murray. What do you guys think? Jamal Murray, 6.5K. He was out with a tight hamstring. He finally came back, and his first game back against Utah played 39 minutes, dropped 50.4 fantasy points. This is encouraging to me because, first of all, he almost triple-double, showing a propensity to have that peripheral floor that we like in guards. I hate playing scoring dependent guards, and Jamal Murray doesn't fit that bill. It usually gives you a little bit of everything. If you scroll down before the bubble, there's a lot of 30 floor fantasy point games, right? A little bit of upside. There's still going to be no Gary Harris, still going to be no Will Barton. Yes, Michael Porter Jr. is stepping up a little bit, but I believe if Michael Porter Jr. succeeds, then hey, there's some assists there for Jamal Murray. Jamal Murray 6,500. Usually, if you get me in the ballpark of 30 plus FanDuel points, maybe mid 30s, I'm a buyer. He's going against the Lakers. Play up against LeBron James. Maybe see them again in a couple weeks in the playoffs. 6.5K, I think that's a good price. So I'm going to put Jamal Murray down as one of the guys I'm keeping an eye on early to be perhaps a core player in today's mass entry builds for me personally. Moving on to shooting guard. Let's go poster boy here. Jimmy G. Buckets. And that G stands for getting a shot at TJ Warren. TJ Warren has been the superstar of the bubble. Jimmy Butler's been resting a couple of games here, perhaps stalking, waiting like a viper to attack it. If you guys do not remember the TJ Warren, Jimmy Butler beef from before the quarantine, I'll post a video on my Twitter. So twitter.com/GunDeckerSports. Look for the video, maybe retweet that video. Jimmy Butler said some real things, said some words warning coaches not to put TJ Warren on him. This should be if you're a basketball purist enthusiast, this game should be must watch. I'm going to hope that these two competitors, TJ Warren and Jimmy Butler, kind of relax and don't let their emotions get the best of them, right? I don't want to see an early double ejection type of thing. I know that's a range of outcome, but I want to see them play some basketball. I want to see Jimmy Butler do his thing. 7.5K here for Jimmy Butler, a little bit too cheap. And I hate to be a narrative-driven guy when it comes to picking some plays because I'm all about stats and backing it up. But in basketball, that's one of the sports I will get behind a narrative. And there is some bad blood between Jimmy Butler and TJ Warren. With that said, 7.5K opportunity cost still a little bit too low here for Jimmy Butler. Resting a couple games, there looks like there's not going to be Kendrick Nunn. A little bit more responsibility here for for Jimmy Butler up against TJ Warren. Potential triple-double upside, but a high floor, right? Blocks, steals, that's going to be there. We love that on FanDuel. And at 7.5K, you give me the north side of 40 fantasy points. I'm going to be interested. I think this game gets a little testy. I think both teams have been really, really impressive this side of the bubble. The Pacers with a limited Oladipo at times, resting at times, no Domantas Sabonis, sometimes no Malcolm Brogdon. They're still getting it done, and the Heat have just been really, really scrappy. I think Heat are one of the most I want to say underrated, but probably some unsung heroes of the East, right? I don't think people give the Heat the credit they deserve. A lot of hype on the Bucks, in the Philadelphia 76ers. A lot of hype on the Lakers, the Clippers. Like, there's a lot of teams out there that are getting a lot of buzz on both sides, but the Heat are just down there grinding, right? Out of Bio. Goran Dragic's putting together a solid stretch of games. Kelly Olynyk with some games. Jimmy Butler, we know what he can do. So I think from a real basketball perspective, a lot of people sleeping on the Heat. But from a fantasy perspective, 7.5K for Jimmy Butler. If he's inspired, I'm inspired. Check out the video on my Twitter. 7.5K, let's put him in there. Let's move on to the small forward position. Things are going to get a little bit more blurry here. Now, TJ Warren is 7.5K. Probably would be fun to run him back, but that would be lazy content here. So if you guys want to get behind TJ Warren again, he is listed as questionable with a foot injury, but man, has he been chucking shots, 20-plus shot attempts a game, basically. I'm still not a complete believer in his peripherals, right? It's not surprising that without Sabonis, they're looking at him to take extra shots. But like this game against Phoenix and this game against Washington where he had 10, 11 rebounds, that's just not normal TJ Warren stuff. But at the same time, like, maybe he just decided to come back to the bubble and just like take it to the next level. That's cool and all. If you want to play TJ Warren at 7.5K, go for it. I think I'll have some exposure, but I don't want to list him as the core play here. I think the core play, as much as it pains me to say, I'm looking at Tim Hardaway. Tim Hardaway is 4.9K. Played 37 minutes against Milwaukee, 35 against the Clippers, 41 against Sacramento. Wide range of outcomes, 9, 11, 27 fantasy points, not what you want. But I talked about it at the top of the broadcast. The Dallas Mavericks are going to be resting Luka Doncic, Kristaps Porzingis, and Dorian Finney-Smith. That represents a lot of minutes. Over 100 minutes to fill. And I think Tim Hardaway Jr. is one of the guys that has to get it done. Now, with Jimmy Butler, I gave you narrative. With Tim Hardaway Jr., I'm going to go back and lean on numbers a little bit. So far this season, without Porzingis, without Luka, and without Dwight Powell, not that that's a big difference, but we'll talk about another guy here in a minute. But without these people, Tim Hardaway Jr., 28.2% usage rate, 241 minutes of sample size. Nothing to go crazy about, averaging about a fantasy point per minute. I think I get involved here. I think the minutes could be 35, 37. I know DeLon Wright's in the mix. Seth Curry's probable. JJ Barea probably plays 17, 20 minutes. Maybe JJ's one of the blow-up plays. JJ's like a smaller Boban sometimes, so he'll show up and show out. But I'm looking at Tim Hardaway Jr. here, and I got to be completely transparent. It's not a comfortable click, right? It's not something that I want to go out of my way to roster, but I certainly believe the potential's there. If we go to statmuse.com, Tim Hardaway Jr. DKP let's put FanDuel points. FanDuel points per by game log let's go without Luka Doncic, Kristaps Porzingis. We'll just say Kristaps. We don't have to put Powell. And Kristaps Porzingis let's go last 5 games. Got 31, 43, 44, 24, and 38. Surely that 24 wouldn't be what you want. It was against Charlotte. He only got 26 minutes there. Not sure what was the catalyst behind that. Wasn't in foul trouble. But every other game where he got over 30 minutes, he got you 30-plus FanDuel points. And one of those games was 44.1 FanDuel points in 37 minutes against the Utah Jazz. Tim Hardaway Jr. is playing the Utah Jazz today. Again, not a fun play by any stretch, but small forward. It's either the big boys, LeBron, Giannis, or you're going down here and you're dabbling. And I think Hardaway is going to generate some ownership. I think a lot of the Mavericks will. And let's move to small forward. A great segue here. We're going to stick with the Mavericks here. We're going to talk about Maxi Cleba, another click that maybe doesn't feel great on the surface. I can't type all of a sudden. He's 4.7K. Think about the big man minutes that need to be made up for. No Kristaps Porzingis, no Dwight Powell, no Willie Cauley-Stein, right? So it's basically Boban Marjanovic, maybe some Michael Kidd-Gilchrist. Remember, Dorian Finney-Smith is out as well. And Dorian Finney-Smith is not somebody you're probably going to play today, but he does represent a whole lot of minutes, 40 minutes. So these minutes have to go somewhere, and it seems like Maxi Cleba is a great candidate to pick up 35-plus minutes there. And at 4,700, you'd probably take that opportunity at 35-plus minutes. Cleba does have the propensity to go out there and get a lot of blocks, and on FanDuel, I think that pays off a lot more. We see games like against New Orleans, 5 blocks, a lot of 2-block games here. So I just think if we can muscle even 9.9 points per minute in potentially 35 minutes here, 4,700, I'll put that in my power forward spot and hope for the best. I think a lot of buzz will be behind Boban Marjanovic today, and I do want to play some of that. I'm a little bit hesitant about trusting Boban to get deep minutes, but Boban doesn't need but 20 minutes to drop 50. But I feel like that's going to be a little trendy, and I try to be a little different with these videos. So Hardaway and Cleba, I can handcuff those guys. With that said, like I said, Beret is going to go out there, probably get 17 to 20 minutes and do work. Seth Curry's probable. DeLon Wright can show up and show out. And Trey Burke is going to be one of my favorite plays on both sides, especially on DraftKings. So the guard situation a little bit murky, but it does look like they're going to need Maxi Kleba's size, especially against the Utah front court, against a guy like Rudy Gobert. Now let's go talk about the center spot. Rudy Gobert. It's bad here, right? It's Jokic against the Lakers. Lakers not a great matchup for bigs. Lakers one of the toughest points in the paint spots. Jokic 8.5K. The opportunity cost is great, But now that Jamal Murray's back, now that Michael Porter Jr. is back, I'm a little bit more cautious. I know Utah, he got it done, almost had a triple-double, did get extra innings there. So he will be in the mix. But as far as points per dollar, I'm going to look at Rudy Gobert just a little bit longer, a little bit stronger, 7.8K. In the absence of Porzingis, Dwight Powell, I mean, you get Cleba, and you get a pretty undersized front court. I don't know how long Boban's going to run for, but when you're going to have guys like DeLon Wright, Tim Hardaway Jr., Seth Curry, maybe Justin Jackson running around, there's going to be a lot of block potential, and this could be one of those big block games for Rudy Gobert. We see games like we talked about with Cleba, 3 blocks here, 3 blocks here. I do think, if we can get one of those 3, 4, maybe 5 block games, that'll give us nearly 10 FanDuel points right there to start with. And then you're rarely ever going to walk away with less than 10 rebounds from Rudy Gobert. And lately, he's been getting you a little bit more points. I'm probably expecting anywhere from 10 to 15 real points, maybe 10 to 16, as he's really just going to dunk. But I think double-digit rebounds and 3 to 5 blocks is a realistic expectation for him here. And if I can get 40-plus fantasy points, I'll be a buyer. I will say it's not that far of a reach to get to Jokic. And if all of the Lakers were suited up, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and that game projects a little bit more competitive, right? There's a good chance this Utah Jazz spread gets a little wide. I could revert here and maybe go back to Jokic. Another thing I'm going to watch for on the Jazz side is Donovan Mitchell had a Q tag on him. By the way, Donovan Mitchell accidentally went live on Instagram last night, and there were some noises being made that make me wonder if the person behind those noises was an Approve the Bubble member. If you guys haven't seen that video, it won't take long on Twitter to figure out what I'm talking about. But Donovan Mitchell's questionable with a left lower leg peroneal strain. If he's not able to play, surely that'll be a bump for like Mike Conley and Jordan Clarkson. Maybe Conley is really fun points per dollar as a core player. But maybe there's a couple extra shots for Conley and Gobert to link up under the basket. So if Mitchell was out, I'd probably like Gobert just a little bit more than I do today. But right now, we're going to list Gobert here as a potential core play. And then DeAndre Ayton is lurking at 7.7K. From where I'm sitting now, I don't know the official statuses of Steven Adams and Nerlens Noel. I expected both of those guys to play yesterday. Adams was initially out, and then he was in. And then, like 10 minutes before lock, they were both out. And we were debating whether or not we're playing Mike Muscala or we're just going to get behind a lot of Thomas Bryant. Well, if Adams and Noel were out, the front court, I think, is a lot easier to pick on, and I think DeAndre Ayton would be somebody I can go get at 7-7 to give me a shot at 40-plus fantasy points. Still thinking right now I'm going to lean Rudy Gobert, but there's several fun options here. I do want to go back to the power forward spot and mention Sergi Baca. 4,600. Sergi Baca is somebody I typically like in fast-paced matchups. You guys that have listened to my breakdowns long enough know that it's kind of like a running gag for me right now. But if you look at Ibaka's really his best games, let's pull it up on Sergi Baca, most FTP by game log let's go last 2 seasons, right? So a bunch of 40 pluses here, right? Well, who are they coming against? Well, in 2018 Lakers were a porous defense, fast-paced option. Let's just go last 1 season, right? Maybe we can get this season sample size. Actually, this season. So Brooklyn, we know they suck against centers. Memphis, really fast-paced. This was actually yesterday. Dropped 44. Washington, one of the fastest-paced, most porous defenses. Atlanta, fast-paced, porous defense. A lot of examples of fast-paced matchups in which Ibaka was able to get off in. And yesterday he did it again. 25 minutes against Memphis, 12 points, 12 boards, bunch of blocks and steals. He's going against the Milwaukee Bucks, a much tougher matchup. I don't know that I'm going to get double-digit rebounds from him here. But, Marcus All in a back-to-back, Ibaka in an up pace spot. I might be interested in a little bit of tournament exposure. So those were a couple names that were floating around in my head that I wanted to kind of talk about. And like I said, if Mike Conley gets the floor without Donovan Mitchell, he's been playing really, really deep minutes since coming back from the quarantine, and his responsibility would increase as well. So for now, we'll stick with Murray, Jimmy G, Tim Hardaway, Maxi Cleba, and Rudy Gobert. But there's a lot of pivots and swings that could happen between now and then. If you guys want my updated player pool, I will have it in the RunDFS.com NBA VIP Spreadsheet, my tier 1s, 2s, and 3s. What I'll have the most exposure to, least exposure to, and maybe no exposure to. And, of course, I'll be in the pre-lock voice chat. And that's behind the paywall at RunDFS.com. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. Help me out. Hit that thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't yet. Twitter.com/SunDeckerSports. I love you. Good luck. God bless. And go win some money.